Welcome to a special edition of Let's Talk Ball. I'm Thad Brown. He's Carl Jones, former Division I corner. I'm just a guy who enjoyed immensely the last 4 hours of football that we got. Super Bowl 58 in the books. Chiefs get the win in overtime, 25-22. I did, by the way, have Chiefs 6, Niners 2 in a squares pool, so I missed the big money by this much. But you don't care about that. Carl, initial reactions to this game, and let me start with one that I know you're going to come over the top with me against, and that's fine. I think this was the best Super Bowl of all time.
It was really good. I know that some people are going to say, oh, there weren't a lot of points and things of that nature, especially early on. I know that things really picked up in the second half. For my money, and I know I'm a little biased because of the fact that I loved the Seattle Seahawks as a kid, that Seahawks-Patriots Super Bowl, I think about 10 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, where I believe Malcolm Butler picked the ball off at the end, at the goal line to save the day. For my money, Brady up against one of the best defenses we've ever seen. I thought that Super Bowl was electric. But this one I thought had everything that you were looking for as well.
I think the electricity point is a good one because although the end of this game was tense, it was kind of like Novocaine. I mean, the game-winning touchdown was a play-action 4-yard flip to Mecole Hardman. The two plays before it were like screen, run to Pacheco, screen to Kelsey, screen to Pacheco. The electricity wasn't there. Right. Whereas in the Seahawks game, you had that ridiculous bounced reception that got Seattle down there, and then you get the pick at the goal line. Those are like, slap your head kind of plays, whereas this game wasn't that. And, the other point I want to make about this is as good as both defenses were, and I think if you want to talk about the personality of this game, this was a reminder that both the Chiefs and the Niners have ridiculous defenses. And they smothered both offenses, a great quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, a pretty good quarterback in Brock Purdy who impressed me in this game. But it was defensive scheme, defensive strength, defensive depth that really dominated this game for 3 quarters. But I thought this game was a perfect example of what the NFL is in 2024, in that if you have Andy Reid on one side and Kyle Shanahan on the other, at some point, those two offensive minds are going to be able to find a way.
Man, I mean, because you think about all the defensive stars we have in this game. Fred Warner, for a majority of the game, had Travis Kelsey in prison, wasn't going anywhere, making play after play. Chris Jones made a phenomenal play at the goal line to, I believe, make Brock Purdy get off his spot and throw the ball away to a certain extent.
He had 2 of those in this game.
Yeah. Trent McDuffie, phenomenal player. I mean, he played his tail off in the back end. L'Jarius Sneed made some plays as well. But at the end of the day, when you have Kyle Shanahan, Andy Reid, and then the stars on both offenses, I mean, the Niners' nickname for their offense is the Avengers. That's how many all-pros that they have. And then anytime that you have Travis Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes, you're good in that regard. You felt at some point this wasn't going to be the Rams-Patriots Super Bowl from a few years back where it was going to end up 13-3. At some point, the offense was going to wake up, and they did so in the second half.
Great stat. The game was 10-6, 2:42 to go third quarter. Chiefs are punting. That was the one that bounced off the Niners blocker, and it was a muff, not Ray McLeod's fault. But then the Chiefs score in the next play. Starting there, the last 7 drives of the game were all scores. And most of them it was touchdown, back-to-back field goals, and then the Chiefs getting the field goal they needed to tie. So it wasn't like they were stopped. I mean, they were stopped, but they kind of had to slow down because they ran out of time. Now, obviously, the Niners get stopped on the field goal in overtime. And let's talk about that decision there. That spot for Kyle Shanahan after a mega drive, 4th and 4 at the Chiefs' 9. Remember, earlier in the game, they had converted a 4th and, it was either 3 or 4. I want to get it right, just for the sake of this discussion. This is before. If you got it, go ahead.
4th and 3 to Kittle, I believe.
It was 4th and 3. So 4th and 3 at the 15, down 13-10, they went for it. 4th and 4 at the 9, tie game in overtime, they kicked the field goal. I don't have a problem with any of the coaches' decisions. All the 4th down choices, sometimes to go against. I will say that the more I think about it now, 4th and 4 on the 9, I think I might try and go for that. Now look, if you fail there, as I pointed out, because all the last possessions previous were all scores, the game's probably over. But as it turned out, the game was over anyway because the Chiefs drove down the field and got the touchdown.
Yeah, it's a scary proposition when 15's on the other sideline. I think that's where it's like, do you want to have a situation where you don't come away with any points and all 15 has to do is to get to the 40-yard line with Harrison Butker as his kicker?
Right, it's not just 15, it's Butker too.
Yeah, and on the other hand, you kick a field goal, well, he's shown time after time out of his NFL career so far that he's good enough to go the length of the field, no matter if he has a garbage collector as his receiver, me as his other receiver, and then Travis Kelsey. Like he's figured out a way to move the ball down the field. So we've talked about, not us, but like the NFL space in general has talked about Kyle Shanahan being conservative in these moments. Obviously, the 28-3 game was an embarrassing mark, and then the 2019 Super Bowl against the Chiefs where he took the foot off the gas. I don't think that was the case here. Even in that situation right there, I don't think that was conservative. It was more of a, you know what, I trust my defense to make one play here, and unfortunately they weren't able to do so.
Give me some of your thoughts from this game, things that you're reacting to as we're watching. It was an amazing, tension-filled game. Like we said, the electric plays weren't there. The big plays, for the most part, weren't there. In fact, off the top of your head, I'm going to look it up, but I just want to have you guess. What was the longest play from scrimmage in this game? Or give me like an over-under. Just guessing.
Justin Watson had a 22-yard play. Maybe it was Kelsey on that fourth. That's what it was.
We're both forgetting about one. Mecole Hardman had the 52-yarder. That was almost an accident because the Niners safety got turned around, where it probably would have been at minimum an incompletion.
They fumbled the next play anyway.
Exactly. So it didn't matter. But in terms of big plays in the game, because of the way the game went, you forget about it. To my point, though, other than that, longest play in the game was 24 yards.
But that's where you kind of need your stars to make plays to methodically move the ball down the field. Because if you don't have guys who can convert third down after third down, which this game was all about, you're kind of hosed. But the couple of reactions that I had, there are two. The first is, at this point in the year, you better have a plan B, a C, a D, maybe even an E. Because if you look at the 49ers, they weren't able to run the ball like they were able to all year long. Brandon Ayuk had a tough matchup at cornerback. So who saves the day for them? Juwan Jennings. Probably their fifth best offensive weapon. And the fact that they went to him in clutch spots shows a lot about how the Niners didn't panic in terms of plan A taken away, CMC. Oh, Brandon Ayuk, our best receiver, can't make a play. Deebo Samuel has a bum hamstring. We can't give him the ball. So they have plenty options to go to, which I think, not trying to turn this into a Bills discussion, but when you look at the Bills, when the Bills don't have B or C, and sometimes their A wasn't there, it shows up so big in games like this.
And for people who are listening and not watching, I'm like motioning because this is exactly where I wanted to go. You think about this from a Bills point of view. Like you said, even their A option wasn't working, but I think this emphasized the need to spend some assets on receivers this year. Even if you don't get the elite one, I think they need that because I don't know if Stephon Diggs can be that. He certainly can't be that long term, so you need to develop that guy either way. But just looking at 2024, if you can't find that A1 option, like you said, find guys that can be the C, the D, and the E. Because if you think about the Bills, are we trusting Deontay Hardy to have a Juwan Jennings game? Are we even trusting Khalil Shakir, as good a game as he had, to have that game in the Super Bowl? I think Shakir's a possibility, but not a guarantee. And Dawson Knox, probably not. So they need guys who can be the options, like you said, to be able to step up and be that guy in this game.
I thought about that literally the entire way. And then Plan A started to work again when Christian McCaffrey got the ball in overtime. And then my last point that I thought about, you come at the King, you better not miss. And they had so many opportunities, whether it was the muff pump that hit off the punt returner's leg, Christian McCaffrey's fumble, I believe, on the first drive of the game.
Yep.
Even the last play of the offensive possession for the Niners, if someone blocks Chris Jones, Brock Purdy hits Juwan Jennings on the sideline, and they probably convert that for a touchdown. I know those plays don't seem like a lot of big stuff, but when you go up against 15 in one of the best modern dynasties, you cannot leave food on the table because they are going to figure out a way at some point to turn things around.
Patrick Mahomes' final stats, 34 of 46. Off the top of my head, that's about 70% completion percentage on 46 throws. He threw for 333, averaged 7.2 a throw, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 3 sacks for only 8 yards, 66 on the ground, 399 total yards, 1 drive in overtime, but a drive in overtime. And in a game where he struggled for 2.5, 3 quarters. And this leads in quite nicely to, I think, what the bottom line from the Super Bowl is. Patrick Mahomes is no longer going to be compared to Josh Allen and Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. He has separated himself. His peers are not the guys playing now. His peers now are, as you aptly put it a little while ago, are the ghosts. He's now playing against Tom Brady, who's obviously still very much alive, Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw, Bart Starr. That's who we're talking about Patrick Mahomes with right now.
Because if you think about his previous Super Bowls, not saying he didn't play well. Obviously they need him to play at least decent to win a game of that magnitude. But he didn't, to me, have a signature moment outside of that 3rd and 17 play against the Niners in the first Super Bowl.
Correct.
This was his best game so far in a game of this magnitude, especially with who he had around him. Myself included, this entire year I've said the Chiefs have college-level receivers out there. I've been on social media and said there's like 10 college teams right now who would take their receiving room over the Chiefs. Yet in the biggest game against the Niners defense that is very opportunistic and has several all-pros, Mahomes found a way to get it done. Because early on in the game, they were trying to take shots, and his O-line couldn't help him out. So they said, you know what, we're going to dink and dump this down the field and figure out a way, open up Travis Kelce, and that last drive, he said, you know what, you guys aren't open. Come on, get on my back. Superman's ready. Let's go win this game.
Superman is right. Superman is right. And then at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about. This Super Bowl cements Patrick Mahomes as the best there is right now and probably soon to be the best there ever was. I will say he did it 2 late drives, both times that come from behind, both needing to get a score. He converted both, won the game, won a 3rd championship, and for my money, won the best Super Bowl of all time. He's Carl Jones. I'm Thad Brown. Thanks for watching and listening to a special edition of Let's Talk Ball. You can always find these at rochesterfirst.com, on YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. We'll have more of these throughout the year. But for now, man, no more football for a while. And this game's going to leave us wanting it for a long time.
I guess draft talk, whatever.
Thanks for watching and listening.